The expansion of petrochemicals in Texas is putting the state's most vulnerable neighborhoods at risk. That's according to a new report from the Bullard Center for Environmental and Climate Justice at Texas Southern University. And we are joined now by Dr. Robert Bullard, the lead author on the report from TSU, to talk about what this means. First of all, Dr. Bullard, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about these facilities and what this means for families who live near those facilities. And they've been dealing with it for so many years now.
That's correct. And the current build out or proposed build out of these petrochemical facilities are actually being proposed for communities that are already overloaded. Mm-hmm. And what the report shows is that when we look at those fence line communities in terms of their health effects, in terms of the impact on the infrastructure, it's basically repeating long historical patterns of those who are most affected are ones that are now being targeted again.
And they're most at risk. So let's talk about why it seems as though the facilities seem to be mostly in lower income communities of color. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, I did a study 30 years ago, Dumping in Dixie, looking at the impact of siting of different facilities and why they are located where they are. Oftentimes they follow the path of least resistance, and where they're clustered, once you get one facility, it's easy to get 3. Mm-hmm. Once you get 10, it's easy to get 12.
Right.
And so that's the pattern. And generally, the restrictions on where they can locate oftentimes are not there. And you get this saturation of communities, and ultimately, if you get so many individual facilities that are permitted, you get what's called a sacrifice zone. Those communities have very little, they don't get the jobs, and what they get is pollution, and oftentimes when we look at who lives around them, they are more, have higher poverty rates than the state or the nation.
Now, doctor, that goes right into my next question, the health risks, the real health risks for families who are living right near these facilities.
Well, if you talk about the impacts, health impacts, we're talking about increased asthma, increased other respiratory illnesses. We're talking about impact in terms of cardiovascular. We're talking about cancer. I mean, and you're talking about the different clustering facilities, and also you're looking at the impacts when you combine those. The cumulative impacts it's not health enhancing. It's not good for the community. And in many cases, the residents that are living in those communities don't have a large percentage uninsured, and it's a big problem, a big challenge, and what we've been trying to address these issues for more than 4 decades, and it's not getting better.
Now, why do you think, through your studies and through your experience, that this has not been addressed, that this has not really changed for so many years?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with some communities are considered not having the same rights as others. Everybody breathes air, but everybody doesn't breathe the same air when it relates to where facilities are located. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to make sure that no community is sacrificed. We've made some progress when it comes to community monitoring in terms of, but in many cases, the state agencies and federal agencies have not stepped up to address these issues, and with rollbacks and environmental protection, with waivers and other kinds of restrictions that are being placed as to what communities can do, we're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, so tell us about that correct direction, would you say? What can local leaders and maybe people that are watching do to help out these communities?
I think it's important for local officials, local elected officials and organizations to really start to advocate for the right of all communities to breathe clean air and to drink clean water, and to have their schools not somehow be inundated with pollution across the fence line. These are rights that are guaranteed to us under the U.S. Constitution. Equal protection under the law, including environmental laws. All
right, Dr. Bullard, if folks are watching and they'd like to get a hold of you, can they check out a website, TSU? Tell us more information.
Yeah, they can just contact the Bullard Center at TSU, or just Google Bullard Center. Okay. You'll get us.
Dr. Bullard, thank you so much for this incredible information this morning.
My pleasure.